Welcome to the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. I'm Angela Dahlgren.
I'm Jen Snyder, and we're two moms raised on Disney magic, figuring out parenthood one day, one meltdown, and one pandemic at a time.
We hope you enjoyed this brand new episode. So you know when you have like a really solid plan and you're like, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to talk about this, and it's going to be great. That's kind of how this episode was supposed to be. Yeah. And we've had it planned. Would you say at least a solid month?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to do a back to school episode. We're going to have my brother who's a principal on and my brother who's a COVID specialist. And we are going to do the best back to school episode there ever was.
Yes.
And then we just started talking about Dave and Dave Matthews Band.
It took a turn, but our guest today is Angela's brother, Andy, who is a principal. It just basically, we became best friends. And so you'll see that as the episode goes. And it wasn't really about back to school, but
it kind of
ask some questions.
Yes.
Right.
So bear with us, I guess, it's going to be worth it for the fact that you hear Jen and Andy become best friends.
Sure.
Don't hear my jealousy. I'll just tell you that there is jealousy if you don't hear it.
Right.
But Jen has now become a better sibling to my brothers than I am.
2 down, 1 to go.
I'm coming for you, Frank. Frankie. So yes, with that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Welcome to the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. I'm Angela Dahlgren, here with my co-host, Jen Snyder.
Hello.
And it took me 3 tries to get out that intro. I don't know what's going on. We are doing a back to school episode today. It is very emotional for us. Our kids have been with us for the past 18 months, or in Jen's case, the past forever, pretty much.
Yeah.
So this is a big episode for us. Both of my kids are going to school for the first time together. I'm like an empty nester, part elementary school version. And it's Jen's son is going to school, daughter's going to nursery school. It's a big deal. So for a big episode, we brought on the big dogs. So today we have my brother, Andy. Hi.
Hello. Good morning, ladies.
Andy is starting his first year as a principal.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
Funny. It's been something that I've wanted to do for a while, and it's always funny where life takes you when something just kind of pops up, and it's something that fits, I don't know, just fits me perfectly, I feel like, and hopefully you guys will see that by the end of this podcast.
Yeah, and what's unique in his case, where we live and how we grew up, it's a K through 8, or in Andy's case, a preschool through 8th grade school. It's a Catholic school.
I was going to say, that was going to be my guess.
Yeah. So he's got his work cut out for him. And it's actually the school that you started at too.
I went to kindergarten there. I still remember the first day I went to school was Miss Gabriel's kindergarten classroom. And a guy that happens to be one of my really good friends now, Mom and Dad are walking me in, and I see this kid hanging onto the door for, just fear of his life, not going in, screaming, crying. And it happens to be one of my best friends in the world now. But I remember thinking to myself, you guys want me to go here? But it's actually a very special place. So
full circle.
I know.
Yeah.
No, and that's actually one of the first things you said in your interview is you asked about the kindergarten room, right?
Yeah, I kind of just stopped the whole room. They asked if we had any questions before I wanted to get going. And I just said, hang on. The kindergarten room that I went to had a loft. Is that loft still there? And they all kind of looked at me, except for one person who was there, 30, she's been there 35 years. And she goes, it is gone. And I said, really? And she goes, it violated fire codes. And I'm like, oh. It was somewhat anticlimactic, to be honest with you, for the reason that they got rid of it. But I was expecting a better story.
Well, no, because if you go back to our day in schools and just thinking of how much was probably in the schools that was just not okay and just asbestos in certain classrooms probably, and just whatever else that no one talked about. You just went like, the school's been
you'll
here
probably
forever.
survive.
It's fine. Yeah.
It's okay. Your 8th grade buddy wants to take you for a walk to a convenience store. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's fine. We're
Exactly. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And this, for everyone listening, this is my middle brother. You will be actually meeting my oldest brother in a few weeks from now. But Jen, this brother, I believe, was born the same year as you.
Oh.
So you guys are birthday year buddies.
Wait,
Exciting.
me and Jen, or your
Yeah.
youngest, oldest, newest
You
brother?
and Jen. I think
Once
you guys
removed.
both are 82.
Mm-hmm. I am.
Wait, am I supposed to say that, Jen?
You
Are we
can say I'm
editing that
82.
out?
I
Okay,
think Andy
edit
just
it.
went to check if he was born in 82 or not. Okay, he's back.
Okay, confirmed.
No, I tried to. I got a text and I tried to swipe it up, and of course it's swiped down. Sorry.
No, we're really sick of the excuses.
We're
Are you
done.
82, Andy?
I'm barely an 82. I'm a December 82. Which, you know what, I still feel like it makes me better than those January of 83s. So
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Whereas-
so I'm like way older than you because I'm January 82.
Gosh, a whole 11 months.
you know, it's okay. I'm used to dealing with older people. You know, I'm a Sagittarius. We get along with everyone.
Right.
I think.
Oh my gosh. Annie is a Sagittarius. She's barely a Sagittarius. And I can already see the similarities between you and her, where you guys both just want to do a bunch of things like professionally and creatively. It's just like,
You know what I learned about that though? Like, it's so funny because ideas and wants and desires just come out of nowhere. And then after like kind of exploring it, you're like, oh, that's not going to work. But then next something else comes up. So very exciting.
Yeah.
well, can we start, if it's okay with you, Jen?
Mhm.
Kind of hearing Andy. I don't know how much time you have. You said until 6:30, right?
Yeah, I got a good 21 minutes.
Okay. Can we kind of hear your path to becoming a principal? Because it wasn't very linear.
Yeah. So a lot of the times, you know, people, you know, when they grow up and go through school, you know, someone in their life kind of nudges them in the right direction or gives them confidence to say, hey, you'd be great at this, or hey, this is something you should look into. That did happen throughout the years, but I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that our mom was a teacher, and I think me and Angela both have a lot of qualities that my mom has. So going to school, just loving to play sports, be active, being very involved, kind of carried over into college, being active, playing sports. I ran track in college. Being involved kind of led me to a teaching program at the University of Wisconsin, River Falls. Followed that path for about 2 years. I did do my first year at St. John's University up in Collegeville, Minnesota, which was a great experience. It wasn't me. It wasn't my style of, I don't know. I don't know if it was just the location or what, but I really enjoyed.
Vibe.
It just wasn't my vibe.
Mhm.
Being closer to Rochester, being close to the cities, River Falls was just an amazing place, and it still holds a really dear place in my heart. So transferred there, did the teaching program, ran track, had a great time. Ended up changing my major for whatever reason towards the end of my career. Decided that, I'm going to graduate soon. I got to do something. So doing what I always did, which right or wrong, I called my dad. I said, hey, Dad, what should I do? And being that my dad is a physician and he's always looking out for the health side of things, he goes, well, you need to figure out, somewhat like a school, you need to do something in healthcare. So I'm like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So applied at a couple of podiatry schools, got into Dr. Scholl's School of Podiatric Medicine in Chicago, attended that school for 9 months. And in the middle of a cadaver lab one day, I was looking at something called the spinal phalanges at the bottom of the spinal cord of our cadaver. And one of my lab partners, who thought he was just really cute and funny, nudged our cadaver, which then sprayed some formalin or some sort of spinal fluid into my face. And I literally walked out of lab in my scrubs, walked upstairs, went to the admissions office in my scrubs, and quit. Packed all my stuff up within 24 hours. I had my younger brother, Jeff, drive down and help me move out, and drove back to Rochester. my dad said, no, you can't just sit and do nothing. You need to get a job. So I was bartending, I was serving, and eventually a guy that I worked for in college who owns a very successful financial firm here in town said, hey, you'd always be great at, I always thought you'd be great at this, come work for me. I worked for him for 4 years. I learned the ins and outs of the financial advising business, made a lot of great friends, had a lot of great experiences, but there was always just something missing. If there was one constant that was always in my life, it was coaching. When I was in college, in between track seasons, I'd coach basketball at the River Falls High School. When I moved back to Rochester, I coached track, I coached basketball. There was always a constant, and that was being around kids and teaching. So I ended up meeting my wife in 2009. We started dating. And throughout that first year of dating, we had some great conversations, especially like with her parents, who were both public school teachers, and they were both retired. And we had, I always just said, man, I always wanted to be a teacher. Why didn't I do it? Well, unfortunately for my wife, in 2011, we got married in 2010. In 2011, I went to my boss's office and I said, I can't do this anymore. And he looked right at me and he goes, go be a teacher. And I said, really? Because that's what I was going to tell you. And he goes, I know you. I know everything about you. So I ended up dropping everything, quitting my job with a baby due in 3 months. My wife, when I told her I no longer was employed and I was going to be going and looking for teaching graduate programs, she goes, okay, you need to still work. What are you going to do to try to provide a little bit? And I said, well, I can bartend. So I was bartending at 3 different places, all in Rochester. I was doing weddings. I was bartending at a place called the Viking Lounge and also the VFW. I would drive to Winona in the morning and I'd leave the house about 6 o'clock.
Hour away.
About an hour away. Go to class most of the day, go to observation in the afternoon, come home, bartend most of the night. And that continued for a semester. Did my student teaching in Plainview for a semester, got my first job as a teacher.
But you also got your graduate degree with this program, right?
Yeah. So with the program, I got my degree in secondary education with a licensure in life science. I eventually added my middle school endorsement to teach any middle school science class. Followed that up with my master's degree in instruction, and a couple of years later completed a K-12 principal licensure program at St. Mary's University, who, by the way, anyone out there looking to do anything in education, go to St. Mary's. They rock, and they'll just help you every step of the way, which was just awesome.
But we do have to mention that you also had 5 kids in this span of time.
Well, it started with the first one, and then
usually how it goes.
Second one came 2013. Another one popped out in 2015. Another one came a little bit sooner than we thought in 2016. And we were cool. We were done having kids. Mm-hmm. And then 3 years later, another one came in 2019.
She's
so
yeah.
You're
a little pandemic baby.
Well, I don't know if it was, I wouldn't call her a pandemic baby. I think it was we moved into a new house. Wow, this is a big house. And my wife subconsciously is like, well, we're just wasting money if we're not using the space. After I got my administrative license, I was looking for jobs, applied for a lot of jobs, got to the final round with a lot of jobs and never could close the deal. And I went to one of my trusted mentors and I said, what am I doing wrong? And he goes, you need more experience, especially in special education. So that's where I took a job in the public schools for 4 years and came back to my district that I'm in now, Rochester Catholic Schools. And they had an opening at the only K-8 building in the district, and it just worked out. So I'm very, very happy to be here. It is like returning home because I did work in this district for 4 years, left for 4 years, and now I'm back. So long story, long-winded. I'm glad Angela's still awake. So this is good.
I mean, I was there for all of it. It's like I already know.
Right. You lived it all. Will you get to do any coaching now that you're a big shot principal?
Yeah. So no, no. What's funny is the last couple of years I've been able to coach girls basketball. I've coached track. Literally it seems like it'd be such a fun thing, but normally when I, have time during the 25th hour of the day, it's usually catching up, doing things that I need to do on a personal level, like hugging my kids, saying hi to my wife, and loading the dishwasher and folding clothes. So, but yeah, there's just no time. As much as I want there to be, there isn't.
Yeah.
And at this point, he has his own basketball team at home.
I got a starting lineup. Now, if we have injuries, we're going to be in problem. Like the other day, we had a terrible injury. My 2-year-old threw one of those dodgeballs that weigh about 2 ounces at my 8-year-old son, and he fell down and cried and said he broke his arm. So if a situation like that happens again, where we got an injury like that, I maybe we should recruit some cousins or something to help us out. But
yeah, we have a good pool on the cousin line, except there's only like 2 boy cousins, and then the rest are all girls, and one of the boys are in Andy's family.
Co-ed.
Well, three cousins, 3 boys, right? Danny, Jay, and Aaron.
Oh my gosh, I forgot my kid. I'm like, who am I missing?
Hashtag mom problems.
And how many? Because there are a lot of grandkids, right? For your parents, how many in total?
15.
15, yeah.
There's a lot of them. Yeah, so Andy has 4 girls and a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we were saying before, they're all blonde hair and mostly blue eyes.
You know what's terrible about having girls? Everyone's like, oh, you got to pay for a wedding. If you're a very emotional person like I am, and you're watching, YouTube late at night, and you're listening to nice country music or something, all of a sudden it's like, oh, Catherine's daddy-daughter dance, and you click on it, and the scenes of like dads dancing with their daughters at their wedding.
Yeah.
It makes me want to be like, can I just wrap my kids up in like a bubble and not let them grow? Because I'm not going to be able to do that.
Do you know what Andy does? Andy, normally this happens maybe once every other month, where he finally has a chance to stay up late and have like
I love this
scotch or a whiskey. And then at about 11:23 p.m., I'll receive a YouTube video of a compilation of army people coming home.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's the best, is what it is.
And it's like a try not to cry video.
No, I always, and then I text Wes, I said, take the challenge, try not to cry, because I fail within 30 seconds.
No.
I am someone that I'm all about, and that's what I always tell people that I work with. I said, we're not here for a long time. We're all connected. We're meant to be together. When you see those connections made again, it is something that makes you somewhat emotional. So
somewhat. I'm bawling like a baby every time. Proposals, anything wedding related, all the military coming home video, just anything like that. Just a surprise. So-and-so has been away for a year and going to surprise their parents. And what? Oh. And they're just all laughing. I'm sitting there crying at the video.
Like when the grandpa gets a puppy for his birthday and his wife died the year before and he's so happy, that gets me every time.
No. What's the worst? Video. What's definitely the worst is like, I'm sitting there watching, military union videos, and I'm like, okay, I got my stuff together, wet my eyes. And then all of a sudden it's like, dad gets those colorblind glasses and see colors for the first time.
Yes.
And then I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? I'm like, they're crying over everything. And I'm like,
so beautiful.
I can't do this. And then that's when I'm like, you know what? Maybe it is time to go to bed.
I used to not really be phased like before I got married. Mm-hmm. But then afterwards, whenever I have to sing at a wedding, every time the bride comes down and they're playing Canon and D and the bride comes, they up the music a little bit and they do a little chime part in the organ. Yeah. Every time I start crying, knowing that I have to sing right after that, but it just ruins me because everybody's looking so happy and the bride's so happy and everybody's standing. It's this beautiful occasion. It just wrecks me.
Oh yeah, for sure. Andy, all right, so far, me and you, we're pretty in line with things. Sex in the City, Dave Matthews, and crying at all these types of videos.
Born in 82.
And Born in 82. I think that's what it is. 80s. That's probably what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Was Closing Time your prom song too, like it was for Andy's?
Time. No, we're on Long Island, so we had to go Billy Joel. So,
for whatever reason, Journey made a brief comeback, and obviously it's a wedding song, Don't Stop Believing, but Faithfully was our homecoming theme.
I remember
and Oh man, it was, wheels go round and round. You're on my mind. It won't stop.
Yeah.
Even when every once in a while I'll watch the music video and it will kind of ruin it for me.
Mhm.
I prefer to go back to the nostalgia in my head and relive some of those moments. It makes me breathe a little bit easier and kind of forget about some of the troubles that we have these days.
I love it.
Because Andy was an all-star in high school. He was on
I-
homecoming court.
Were you? I was going to ask if you were a king like Angela was homecoming queen.
There was
but-
only one top royal in the family.
Oh, okay.
You know what? Here's the deal. I asked my mom for one thing because I'll never forget. I was driving home from Chicago because it was homecoming weekend, and mom's like, "Oh, Angela's on the court," and I said, "Okay, I'm not going to make it. Can you please send me a video?" So my mom's recording, and then they announced that Woods was the winner, and all of a sudden you see this, camera shaking, and all you hear is my mom's scream, which you wonder where else those screams have come out before, and you just are like, "Geez, what just happened?" I never even got to see it. And then all of a sudden, someone's holding, "Oh, you dropped your camera." But good job, Woods. Yeah. Congratulations on being the one and only.
She doesn't think it's a big deal, so she doesn't get it.
No, the other girls split the vote. I'm convinced it's not because it wasn't a popular.
It was no big deal. I was just homecoming queen. It's not a big deal, guys. I wasn't popular.
They split the vote. It wasn't a popularity contest. I stand by this.
Okay.
So you think they flipped a coin for the deciding vote?
No, I think that the 3 popular girls. There's one nice girl because there's always a nice girl. Mm-hmm. Then there were 3 popular girls, and I think they all split the votes.
Who were you, though?
For the popular votes.
Are you saying you were not the nice girl?
I was the music theater department girl.
All right.
Oh, and you guys were ballers at the time. Center Street singers, state level drumline participants, marching band wizards.
Everything.
That was popular. You were in everything? That sounds like a popular kid. I'm just saying.
Which was Dorothy when she was in 2nd grade, the year she got in a car accident and broke her wrist, and she had to be in a play with a cast on. I'm sure she's talked about that before on the podcast.
But when did I get that off? I think I actually got off the day before, and then the night of the show, all of my brothers and all of my boy cousins walked up on stage and placed a bouquet of flowers in my arms, one beep.
That's adorable.
One by one.
Dad made us.
Dad made us. This little Minnesota life. I love it so much.
Oh, I know. Jen had. I guess the show Sweet 16, Andy. Where girls,
I mean, I might have watched it a couple times.
Yeah. Okay, I'll explain it to you later. Whatever. I guess that's a real thing. Where in Jen's world, you really do have those Sweet 16s that are the size of a small wedding.
Mm-hmm. I attended many. I did not have one personally, but I attended many.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Why didn't you have one?
Because my parents agreed to take me and my 2 best friends to Disney, and I went with that.
I thought you were going to say your parents decided to pay the bills that month.
I mean, probably that too. And Disney was actually probably cheaper than what they would have said.
No, it's this. I didn't know this. I thought this was a fake thing. And then we had an episode, and Jen's like, "Oh no."
And you get candles, and they light candles for friends. And then you're wondering if you're going to get a candle from your friend. And then there's a song for that friend, and they come up and they light a candle. Is that why it's
called 16 candles?
Yeah, it's a whole, yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
And does Molly Ringwald pop out of a cake?
I wish.
Does Jake come back or what? Let's bring Jake back.
Football's dead.
Love him.
I love how this is a back to school episode.
Side note,
and we have never talked about school.
Side note. Well, we're reminiscing about our high school days. That's the same.
It's true. It's the same thing.
I watched
High School Rocked.
The Kissing Booth 3 from Netflix last night. Have you guys seen 1 and 2 of The Kissing Booth or no?
What's The Kissing Booth?
You know how I feel about watching new things.
Oh, I know. It's not Grey's Anatomy. But so Molly Ringwald is a mom in that because okay. And I'm just watching it it makes me depressed and happy all at the same time that she's in a coming of age movie, but she's older. And it's bothering me. She's a mom of high schoolers that are, have graduated. So anyway.
Would you say she was pigeonholed by her previous career, or like her early life.
Oh, I feel like there was something like that.
For several years. Then she came back as a TV mom, and that's where she's remained.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right, so we
between
have you
her
for
and
like
Reba,
what, 10
we'll just
minutes?
watch it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we can do that.
All right.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
think of some back to school questions for you then.
Back to school questions. So you've been on the teaching side of things. You're now on the administrative side of things. Now I have a child going in. Oh, this is perfect. Jen has a child going into preschool. I have a child going into kindergarten. You have both at your school. What are some advice you can give to new parents who are entering the school system as an educator?
So as an educator, when you have parents coming into a new school, biggest thing that you got to do is be able to know the lines of communication with the school in general. So you're going to call and you're going to want to ask questions all summer. Make sure that if you're going to email one person, make sure you email everybody questions. So email the office, email the principal, email the teaching staff. There's a lot of people that are involved when making decisions that are best for your kids. Make sure you figure out who's the contact point, what is the contact information. And what's great about teachers is they're always so prepared and they're going to give you that information, but just make sure that you're reaching out if you have any questions. It's one of those things that if you come in the first day and you have questions, the teachers have a lot going on. Mm-hmm. Try to be proactive is what I'm saying. Be proactive, figure out who you need to contact, who you need to talk to, and it will go a lot smoother for that first couple days.
Yeah. How do you feel being on that side when you are getting, not the day of, but when people are being proactive? I mean, are you, honestly, you can tell us now, we won't tell anyone. Are you embracing that? Are you like, oh, these are going to be the troubling parents? I ask for a friend. But just, what are you actually thinking of those parents that are asking questions prior to getting there?
Okay. No, this is really good. And what I appreciate about the people being proactive is, number one, for example, if your kid has a celiac allergy or some sort of dairy and egg allergy, mm-hmm. if you show up to school that day and we have, let's pretend they have a celiac and we're providing something that, a lot of gluten in it, for example, back to school. Oh, we have donuts and juice. That could be a problem. However, mm-hmm. if you tell us 2 weeks before school starts, we can have a sit down conversation with not only your teacher to inform them, but also the support staff, the nursing staff, the administrative staff. It just makes it a lot easier for when your kid comes in to be like, hey, guess what? We got a special breakfast for you over here. Mm-hmm. It just helps, rather than coming in and being like, he can't have that. And then the teacher's like, what do you mean he can't have it? You didn't tell me that. It's good to keep them informed. So that would be an example of a reason that proactivity is very positive.
Yeah, I kind of always agree.
What is your opinion on taking kids out of school for vacation?
Ooh, so here's the deal. Your kids are young ones. If it's something where you can take them out during the already off time, for example, the spring break week, April 1st to 7th or whatever it is, if you can do it, great. If it's something that you guys have been saving up for a long time to take it and it only works, the second week of March, take your kids. We can take the extra steps to help, get them caught up when they get back, or take the steps before to, give them the materials that they need. I would never encourage it, but if it's something that does happen, I think it's okay to tell my staff, let's try to make it work. It's important to this family. Now, if it's something that continually happens every year with the Johnson family, that they, go to Acapulco in, the second week of February, then I might have a phone conversation with the parent being like, we're kind of missing time. There is vacation time here or there, but ultimately it is a parent's decision. And as long as they're not truant, we're not going to say much.
I feel like as the years have gone on, where it's like a double income household, like I feel like when we grew up, it was more likely that there was one parent working, not all the time, but more likely. Whereas now, more often, both parents are working. And I feel like because of that, people take holidays all over the place now because they can't stick to that school schedule anymore, because they might have these vacation days that are expiring or whatever it is. Do you think you've seen that change over time?
I think what it comes down to is, if it works for, I don't want to say we've become more selfish as a society, but if it does work for your family, you're going to do what's best with your family. And you know what? That's fine. Every family situation is different. That's one thing that I've learned over the last 10 years being in education is no two people are going to have the same home situation, same life situation, history. If it's going to work for them, it's going to work for them. And it's, you got to, honestly, as an administrator, as a teacher, you got to choose your battles. And if it's something that you can work with it, roll with it. We'll figure it out.
Now, the big bummer is that COVID's still around here in America. It's still
I'm sorry.
pretty
Hang
bad.
on. What's COVID again?
Yeah. You've been dealing with it as a teacher, since what, to 20, like, don't even know what year we're in. We're a wild. The past year and a half.
2020.
Yeah.
How have things changed for you as a teacher? And do you guys have like teaching things put in place as far as like, if you have to go back into hybrid, like, are you guys teacher planning any differently so that you don't get caught in that scramble again?
Everyone likes to focus on all the negatives associated with COVID-19, but I'm someone that likes to kind of try to find silver linings, just like Bradley Cooper in the movie Silver Linings Playbook.
Andy, we're best friends. Andy, we're best friends.
Do you watch the movie Cedar Rapids 2 all the time while you're working on other things? Because if that's the case, then it's a done deal.
That might just be you.
I just lost all
Kindred
the points.
spirits.
Forget it.
Might just be a you thing.
This is over.
But she does like Anne of Green Gables.
I know he just said Kindred Spirits, and that's exactly what I thought.
Okay, first of all, I said Kindred Spirits, but I only have one foot in the door with Anne of Green Gables. I'm not jumping in fully.
Mom made us watch Avonlea and Anne of Green Gables all the time.
Marilla was too negative for me. I don't want that negativity in my life. However, Matthew kept me on.
Aunt Hetty from the Avonlea series gave me a headache. Did not like her.
Yeah, no, at first I'm like, oh, she's OG, she's old school. She's a problem is what she is. So, I mean, not that we need to talk about,
Anyway, COVID-19, what we live our life by.
No, if you think about it, I mean, when we talk about missing days because of snow days, when we talk about missing days for prolonged illnesses, things like that, a lot of the times it was just like, hey, you know what? It is what it is. We'll catch you up when we get back. We have taught our teachers nationwide how to react to any sort of situation regarding being out of school.
React and adapt.
Yeah, and adapt. And that was the hardest thing. What's interesting is a lot of people nationwide, they didn't know what to do. What is this distance learning supposed to look like? What is this gonna, how long is it gonna be for? How much is too much for students? That was a question we always had last year when I was teaching in another district. Are we giving our students too much? Are we not giving them enough? So the expectation level is what to me changed, but at the same time, what we are able to do, what we're able to offer our students, and how we have given ourselves as an educational unit just another tool in our tool belt because of this has been fantastic. And I would never ever ask anyone to have to do hybrid learning ever again, because that is very difficult. Having students in the room and students online at the same time is not beneficial for teachers. It's definitely not beneficial for students, and it's very hard on parents and the rest of the school staff. So there are good things about COVID. There are also bad things, but the biggest thing that we learned is that we can adapt. Like Jen said earlier, we can react and adapt. Or was that you?
It's Angela.
React and adapt.
Yeah.
I think you should make that a plan title at your school.
Wedge salad. Do you guys ever watch Modern Family?
Yes.
So my wife always, whenever I say something that she's told me 50 times and then I say it, she says one of two things. She says wedge salad or mansplaining. Wedge salad is, there's an episode where Phil, Claire, his wife, tells him so many different times, oh, you should do this. This is great. You should try this. It's a really good salad. And then he went out to lunch with one of his friends and he tells Claire, oh my gosh, I had the best lunch today. It was a wedge salad.
That is my husband to a T.
I think it's just a dude thing.
Yeah.
I think dudes are just dumb.
And then we're like, I told you that last week.
Right.
No, and yeah, but my wife says that, or if she does tell me something the week before, and then I tell her in my own words later. She goes, "Will you please stop mansplaining me?" And I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You're explaining something that number one, I explained to you, and two, I already know, and I just said, and now you're saying it in your own words." And I'm like, "Oh." So now I'm very careful about that. Yeah, I have about 1 minute. Are there any other burning questions? Jen, I know you have a burning question.
Oh man, I have to think. I feel like a teacher just put me on the spot.
I feel like we have to have him back at this
No, I know. I do. I agree. We'll have to.
Let's do our outro with him.
Yeah. We're just going to have you back and ask you like
I know we have
questions.
to.
Yeah.
I know. This is not a segment. This has to be a full episode now. So we're just going to have you back. Okay, well, Andy, have a good school year. Have a good
Thank
meeting.
you. Hey, thanks for the invite. If you guys have any more questions about Sex and the City, Gilmore Girls, or more recently the Netflix series Love, please call me and let me know. I can answer.
Or Grey's Anatomy.
Love, Andy. I love that.
Grey's Anatomy is just it's not my jam. Even though over vacation, like 3 days I had this summer, I did watch seasons 1 through 4 again. My heart breaks every time Denny dies, and I don't care what anyone says.
And Alex has to pull Izzy away.
No, the fact that he carries her. Oh my God, heartbreaking.
And then she goes like this into his arm.
No one likes Alex. But right there, everyone in the world
reminds me of you. I love Alex.
That Alex was spoiled. Sorry, Jen. These are problems that we deal with at our house.
Lots of redeeming qualities.
I understand.
Okay, we'll share more stories next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Love you.
Well, enjoy time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Magical Mommy Monday, on Twitter at Magic Mom Monday, or you can email us at magicalmommymondays@gmail.com. The music you heard on this episode was produced by Matt Harvey. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.